Hello and welcome to a slightly sleep-deprived, but as always caffeinated episode of the Silver and Black Coffee Hour, your favorite Austin-based San Antonio Spurs podcast hosted by me, Tom Petrini, and my friends Aaron Blackerby and Zach Montana. Fellas, how we doing today? How we feeling? Trade deadline over, 3-0 week. AB, what's up, man?
I feel pretty good. Do you guys ever feel like, after seeing kind of Luke Cornett's little coffee talk, I feel like because of our name, we probably should talk about coffee more on this
Yeah.
show, as we are a caffeinated bunch and
And I gotta
appreciate
say,
our
dude,
various fans.
Luke Cornett, that guy knows ball coffee-wise. I mean, first of all, he's hilarious. He's a funny dude. He's a really funny dude. He's always taking shots at Derek White, Spurs legend. Hilarious person, but he's going through the different coffee cups, and he's like, this is for your regular 9 to 5 cup of joe. This is the espresso cup, what I call the you think you're better than me, uh, and then the one for the people who just drink coffee to keep their lives from falling apart, which he self-identified as. And he also made a very good point, which is true, which is something that I as a barista have told many people in the last couple of years. If you struggle with cedar allergies, get you some local honey, stir that into your coffee, helps you. Yeah, Luke Cornett, coffee ball knower. We didn't ascertain how he takes his coffee.
Zach, how do you take your coffee? Because you haven't talked in 2.5 minutes yet. We got to get voice identification here.
How do I take my coffee? Well, it depends on the day. Always iced. Always iced. I have an issue with drinking hot liquids, so always iced. And we're gonna do, relax. And we're gonna
No. Actually, let's explore this.
Maybe a little vanilla, and I'm like a latte guy these days. So Luke Cornett definitely made fun of me on that video. He said, "Latte, you might as well be drinking milk," and I'm like, "Yeah, I get it. I gotta get my whole milk in me."
Let's
so
go
it's all
back to
good.
this.
Why?
No hot liquid.
Yeah,
Are
up
you
with
anti-soup? Are you anti-soup?
No, I love soup. See, so my thought is, the only time I should be indulging in getting hot liquid in my life is when I'm having like a soup, like that. There should be like some noodles or like a chicken
There's
noodle
gotta be
soup, or it should be like a
sustenance involved
chili.
if it's a hot liquid that
Right.
you're ingesting.
Exactly.
So hold on. Okay, so this is
We going
seen
through.
as an indulgence for you, but you have a good cup of coffee. Like it
No,
is
I'm
kind
not
of an
saying-
indulgence
I-
as well.
I love a good cup of coffee, but it has to be iced. It could be 10
Right.
degrees outside, and they're gonna put ice in my coffee. It's what
That's
it's gonna be.
that's a very
Where-
northeasterner. That is a northeasterner take right there. Coffee's got to be iced, even if it's 20 degrees out.
It's gonna last longer. It's gonna be just like it's gonna last
Yep.
you all day. You don't even need the Yeti. You just get a normal cup. You're good. So it's
I
all.
just-
my
where
take.
does Luke Cornett stand on iced coffee?
We gotta ask.
Well,
We
I'll
gotta
ask.
ask. I'll tell
I'll
you.
ask.
Okay,
I'll tell you where I
Luke.
stand. Give me a quad shot of espresso, which is what I have been living on the last week through the NBA trade deadline. No news.
How many
is
articles?
some news. I don't know. I haven't looked. I haven't run the numbers on how many
Over
words I
under
typed.
25.
It was a lot. It was under 25, but a lot of them were long. The trade deadline tracker that I wrote took a lot of time, had a lot of words. It was so cool to see the engagement from fans, the interest from fans, monitoring what the Spurs would do at this deadline. They wound up doing nothing. We'll talk about that.
Hey,
We'll talk about
speaking of fans, like and subscribe, comment, give us a 5-star rating. We also check comments on Spotify and Apple. Help boost us up in the algorithm, and also, once again, tell a friend and tell an enemy. Tell your mother, tell your father, tell anybody that you're on speaking terms with, and anybody that you're not on speaking terms with, don't. Keep that boundary for yourself.
stop
Thank you,
cars in
therapist.
traffic and tell them follow, like, and subscribe to the Silver and Black Coffee Hour right now. Don't do that
Yeah.
for legal purposes. That was a joke. Don't
get us banned.
do that. So we're going to talk about the trade deadline, lack of moves. We're going to talk about what's next for Jeremy Sochan after rumors that he was being shopped around. and may not be long for San Antonio. We've got 3 Spurs wins to discuss. So should we
Can
hop right
I
into it?
I want one last quick opinion on things. Guys, there's a really interesting shoe drop that came out yesterday from one owned Victor Wembanyama getting the Nike GT4 or GT
Sexy.
Cut 4. I believe this is an all-star colorway. What do we think about this?
Super sick shoe.
It's-
I've always been a Nike. Back in our early 2010s, Nike was on it with their All-Star Game shoes. They went 5 years in a row where their shoes drops were KD, Kobe, LeBron. They had unbelievable drops. These the Ray Guns. I can think about the All-Star Game in Houston where they dropped all the astronaut stuff. Came out with the sick logo. That is an awesome shoe. I'm notorious for wearing the craziest, brightest shoes on the court. I will be trying my hardest to get those, and if I don't get those, I'll be sad.
They're tight. They're super duper tight. I was gonna say I don't know if I've told you guys. I definitely haven't because it just happened. Got approved for credentials for All-Star Weekend, so I will be heading out there next weekend.
Oh man, congrats,
Very
Tom.
excited, very happy about that. And yeah, the shoes for Wemby, absolutely sick. These are gonna be like some of the first like signature like Wemby specific shoes, I think, that will be available to the public around there. Yeah.
Second one.
Yeah, second
No,
one.
this
So
is well, he had that teal colorway. He's also had that black shoe that
Let me
I thought
say,
was
I think
pretty
this is the
ugly,
first
and this is
one.
the third. It's the third.
It's the first one I feel like a normal basketball player can wear because their low tops are not big. Like you're gonna see them on the court for sure.
and
Yeah.
since we're talking about swag, which Adidas very rudely and incorrectly accused Wemby of having none of, you guys see last night on the broadcast the diamonds dancing on the Whataburger chain, man.
Oh, dude, unbelievable.
Incredible.
Whoever you
We-
are, sir, please get in touch with us.
Legend. Absolute
To be fair,
legend.
we need the Detroit Pistons mascot with his chain checker, his diamond checker for that because if it's real, unbelievable, unbelievable chain he got there.
Those diamonds are not real. There's
I
no
don't-
way
I
that's
don't even
real.
care. I don't even care. If
I
it's
don't
costume
care,
jewelry,
but
man. That's
I don't care, but I definitely, as I was looking, I was like, dude, that's not real, but that's awesome.
it's real to me, damn it. As one professional wrestling fan once famously said, yeah, Texan excellence. That made me happy.
Speaking of Texan excellence, now let's get into the games real quick. Tom,
Let's get into it. And I know this game was almost a week ago, but I think it was one of the most impressive wins of the year, non-Oklahoma City Thunder division.
in Houston.
Yeah, no, they've had some good ones here recently, and this Orlando Magic game, I think the circumstances surrounding it are what made it so impressive. We're talking about a team that got stranded in Charlotte the day before. They have to fly out after long delays the morning of the game, right? When they take off, they are forced into an emergency landing because of cabin pressure, the cabin depressurizing, right? I'm not sure if the masks came down. I am sure there's no there's no atheists on a rapidly descending plane. Thankfully, everybody safe, and the Spurs got to San Antonio for a game that got delayed into Sunday evening. They came out pissed off, right? They got out to a big lead, and then it looked like the struggles of the day caught up to them. And on a night when they had a million excuses built in for trailing at the half after leading by as many as 18, Mitch Johnson lit into them in the locker room, from what everybody said. And everybody talked about it the same way. No excuses, even when there are excuses, right?
I mean, he was sleepy and sleep deprived, and he's probably just pissed off from it. So I don't blame him for doing it. Wemby also did a little bit of Phil Jackson in this one, talking about the way that he's, Phil Jackson used to be very passive aggressive in the way that he would call out the refs and the way that they were doing his players. and Wemby saying like, "Well, I'm just trying to play basketball,"
Yeah.
and they're not.
So that was I had asked him after the game because second half we saw the Spurs tightening the vice, right? The defense was really good. They gave up, I think, 42 points in the second half after giving up 40 in the second quarter. And Desmond Bane was gooning it up. He was.
What did I say? I did say that he was
We-
gonna be on some bullshit.
We got to be careful here so we don't get any like terms of service violations. But Desmond Bane with those little T-Rex arms trying to start a fight, man, is built like somebody that Popeye the Sailor Man would knock out.
No, do you guys remember Doug Martin? He was a running back
the
for
running
the team.
back.
He's
Number
the
22.
muscle hamster of the
muscle
NBA.
hamster. Yeah.
That is Desmond Bane,
Excellent
muscle
sports
hamster.
nickname. Yeah, he's kind of yoked, but the wingspan disadvantage. He's one of the only dudes in the NBA who I think has like a negative wingspan.
Tom,
but
we're going
so-
way too long on this Orlando game. Wrap it up, man.
Let me close it out
We
here.
have two
then.
entertaining practice games to talk about.
Let me close it out here then. With all of the Desmond Bane getting under his skin, Wemby put the nail in the coffin with a dunk on his head. And yeah, when I asked him about that, he was basically like, I know that they don't want to play a basketball game. And when we do, like, that's our job on offense. And when we do, we win.
Yeah. Zach, what do you got on the Thunder game the day before the trade deadline? And one might call this a scrimmage.
This was I've been to a lot of Spurs games in my life. This had the weirdest like atmosphere. You know, a lot of people showed up not realizing that the Thunder only had 8 players. Like the guy next to me, John, shout out to him, cool guy. Follows the podcast now. He was like, "Yo, did you realize they're gonna play 8 players?" And I was like, "Nah, like this is the way it goes." He's like, "We bought these tickets 2 months ago," and I was like, "That's the way life works." It was a psychological warfare, fellas. That's what the game was. It wasn't anything. It wasn't a basketball game. It was psychological warfare. The Spurs figured it out. That's the best way you can put it. They played down to their opponents. They admitted they played down to their opponents. And that's just what it is. Spurs finished the game shooting 0 for 12 from 3, which kind of made the game feel a lot closer than it was. It really never got closer than 4, but it was weird. It was kind of like this eerie, like, what's going on? Like the roots. And so, but Keldon Johnson, shout out to him, 25 points, 10 for 17. 6th man of the year. I keep telling you, he should get it.
It's also a funny tweet from a friend of the show, Jared Weiss, how the in-game operators were having trouble even with like getting the right guys for the Thunder a part of it. And you could see like multiple, I wasn't at the game, but like on the broadcast when there'd just be one Thunder player on the bench or no one. Because
it was at one point a player walked to the bench, like got subbed out, and he was behind all the 2 other people getting subbed out, but there was 2 people getting subbed in. So there was legitimately no one on the bench to like dap him. He was like walking and giving the it was the weirdest optic I've ever seen in my
Apparently
life.
they got a Youngblood over there named Youngblood. That's crazy. Love that.
yeah.
Yeah, no,
That's the game. Psychological warfare.
They respected their opponents afterward, you know. They were like, credit those guys, you know, they made the shots. There were a lot of like game plan threes that they gave up and the Thunder made. And, you know, I asked Steph about that and he confirmed that like, you know, like Jalen Williams, the not all-star, like they were fine with him shooting threes. He canned a bunch of them. You know,
It's kind of this. I mean, I'll use this to transition to Dallas. I mean, this has been the weirdest week in the league. Coming up to the trade deadline, there's so much noise about all these players. You know, we talk about Jeremy Sochan on the block, and now he's still with the team. Kelly Olynyk also might get traded-itis. Lindy Waters might get traded-itis. Stephon Castle, he sat out a game. Last night's on a minutes restriction. Then Dylan Harper's sitting out. Like, you know,
Harrison
all
Barnes
of this
out of the starting unit for the first time.
Harrison Barnes, dropping out, coming back in last night. Stephon Castle coming off the bench. And that's just with the Spurs. And I'd say just the whole league during this time coming up to the trade deadline, it's so wonky. Just with the lineups that everybody's throwing out there. But look, there's still NBA players that you play against. And Najee Marshall, decided to have a hell of a time last night, having his best game maybe of his career, going flamethrower mode, getting 30+ points, as well as Cooper Flagg, who I guess Cooper Flagg and Wemby have the initial go-to move now. Both of them like the free throw line. But look, Wemby came out. There's, I guess, just something in the water in Dallas. Actually, we'll let that lay there. Dallas is a very strange place in the pantheon of American history, if you really want to get into it with me. But Wemby was a hell of a shooter. Wemby was a hell of a shooter last night too.
Here we go. I see what you're doing.
Hit his first 5 attempts from 3 last night, and then the Spurs decided to play with their food again. And you know what's funny is, like, this game is on the second night of a back-to-back, right? And Tom, I think we talked about it in the live stream earlier this week, but this offense is hooky. How fast they are getting up and down the court. And basically, in that last 2.5 minutes of the game, with Dallas kind of inching close back, Spurs were like, guess what? We know it's the second night of a back-to-back, but we still got plenty of gas in the tank, and they went turbo mode at the end, and it was punctuated with Stephon Castle getting that rebound putback slam. I was like, okay, this game's over. Pretty incredible. Luke Cornett sat out that game, speaking of other weirdness from it, just with like some nicks and bruises. Wemby played 35 minutes this game. Something we haven't really talked about with ramping up his minutes restriction. And then De'Aaron Fox finally got over the hump at 900 three-pointers. So a 3-0 week, but a good one.
Something we talked about a little bit this week, saw it in the Mavericks game, saw it in that Thunder game, see it from time to time, is Wemby aura farming, clip hunting, behind the back, on your head.
Lost up Cooper Flagg pretty bad in that game.
A couple times he was doing the "you reach, I teach" thing, and there was one play somewhere. It might have been his 5th 3 of 5 to start the game, where he faked. He did a step back, and the Mavs announcer just goes, "Oh hell no!"
It was a 5th 3, yeah.
and he cashes it, and it's like, this is why the swaggerless allegations will not stand, man, because the guy is an entertainer and he knows it. And
He's
like
entertainment
a
business.
lot of times he's not thinking what's the most efficient way for me to put the ball in the hoop. He's thinking, what is the coolest way for me to add this particular play to my highlight reel and give my team some energy and take some away from my opponents by demoralizing them, which is something that he's talked about before.
Well, can we talk about one more thing before we go? That someone finally threw Wemby an alley-oop at the right height, and it was the rookie Carter Bryant, and he threw it as high as you possibly could throw it. Wemby's hands were above the square on the backboard. No one's touching it. That is where you throw the alley-oop for Wemby. Perfect. Even when he was like, good job. He was like, good job right down the court. Like, finally, someone threw it up there right where I wanted it.
We saw one of my favorite Wemby trends, which is the one thing he does bad, which is throwing lobs. Every lob he throws, it's like he's telling his teammates, when you throw me one, throw it up here, 3 feet above the rim. And Steph Castle almost went and got it last night. Like, it was dangerous.
Did you hear what he said
crazy hops, but man.
Did you hear what he said to the game about it? He said that he threw one like, yeah.
And
like
it was verbatim something I tweeted about Wemby weeks ago.
Yeah. Fellas, they say if you want to hear God laugh, tell him your plans. But if Wemby wants to hear God laugh, God tells Wemby his plans.
Okay, there you go. I don't know where you sent that one, but we'll allow it.
Hey, everyone. This is the favorite part of the show. This is Zach's favorite part of the show, actually. I think Zach told us the other day, what my favorite part of the show is? It's this part of the show that we do where we say positive things about the Spurs, and we have aptly named it High Praise. Sometimes during this part of the show, we do accountability buddies. We're not doing that today because Zach was incredibly right on the last show, saying that that the Spurs were going to go 3-0. So with that being said, Zach Lee, I'm going to let you kick off high praise this week. Tell us
Wow.
what you got.
All right. Well, first off, appreciate the letting people know that I was right last week, 3-0. As I said, they cannot lose the rest of the season, so 3-0 this week. Gotta
Look,
keep
I
the
made a
trend
big
going.
deal about it. I was like, Zach, you better stand on business on this shit. And you were like, no. And then I was like, no. That's why you
Here
said,
we
you're like,
go.
okay. So,
I just want to give the team credit because this, as we've touched on, a crazy week. It's like one of the weirder weeks of basketball with the plane and being stuck in Charlotte and all the noise around the team with players maybe leaving, players maybe staying, all these different things. On top of the fact that, hey, look, the team is 7-3 over the past 10 games. The world is not coming to an end. The sky is not falling. That's actually the top record in the West over that time period, tied to the Lakers. Spurs are learning how to win when it's tough. When I tweeted last night saying, that game, they're figuring out how to win with a target on their back. Wemby's had a target on his back, but the team itself has never really had a target on their back. Steph Castle played very meaningless basketball last year, and this year the teams are looking to play against him in certain ways, and he's figuring out how to win basketball games. This is I keep touching on it. You can't teach this in practice. You can say, oh, we have a big game, act like it's a big game, and this when you're playing scrimmage against the boys, it doesn't replicate to the court. These games matter. 7-3 after a tough stretch. They beat Houston. They've had tough games. A tough loss to Charlotte, when we go look at it, Charlotte is actually a pretty damn good basketball team. They're running teams down. They're actually 4-0 against the top 4 teams in the West, and Spurs played them the best out of any team. So I just think we should take a deep breath as Spurs fans. Obviously, you touched on it. This is the most wins they've had since 2018. And it's February 6th. There is still 2 months to go in this season. So let's, as a fan group, let's take a deep breath. I know last week I held them accountable. I was like, yo, we need to figure this out. But once again, they're still winning basketball games. 7-3, guys. High praise. Take a deep breath and just keep grinding, head down, and stacking wins when you can get them.
Zach, do you think the Spurs are a good team?
I do think they're a good team. I do want to touch on one last thing. The strength of schedule. We need to go over this. The Spurs have the 11th hardest schedule the rest of the season. You know who has the number 1 and number 2 schedule? Hardest schedule the rest of the season. It's Denver and Oklahoma City. It's the 2 teams right around the Spurs flirting with them. So, look, just need to keep your head down. Take care of business. 4.5 back from OKC. 2.5 up against Denver. Win games. This all matters in the long run.
Oh, there's been a lot of talk about this team in 2026. They're not as sharp as they were to start the year. They're over 600 in 2026. They're playing really well, and 35 wins for the first time in 7 years, and it's not even the All-Star break. Pretty crazy. I want to give some high praise though to some Spurs legends who have gone on to new frontiers and ventures and are succeeding. CD Sissoko, starting for Thiago Splitter in a lot of games for the Portland Trail Blazers, has found a foothold. You guys see Jock Landale yesterday? Got traded, went and drove the day of the game from Memphis to Atlanta, and then had a career high 26 points. He had 26, 10, and 5 for the first time in his career. Crazy story. Much credit and love to Jock Landale. And then in Philly, we've got Dom Barlow had been starting for the Sixers on a 2-way deal, and he got converted at the deadline. Could have gotten, more years. Pay him, Philly. Lock him up long term. But get that money, get that chicken. And Charles Bassey, who has been grinding it out there, he just got another 10-day. So, good to see former Spurs finding ways to thrive in the NBA.
No, Tom, you called them Spurs legends. And I'm going to keep remembering that. And one day we are going to ask each other what our definitions of the Spurs legend are. Did you collect a check from the Spurs? Were you in the All-Star game?
No, listen, man. There was one of those hoop grids the other day that was just all international players, and my goal was to just fill it up with, Spurs like Nico Laprovitola and Beno Udrih and Zarko Paspalj, all Spurs legends to me, damn it.
Well, Beno won a ring, so he can get away with that.
Yeah, once again, this is why I'm going to ask the question another day about how each of us define Spurs legends
Keep
for
it moving.
ourselves.
That's for the off season.
Yeah.
That's some off season stuff there. Okay, I got to shout out. My high praise is going to be towards Wemby, but I want to shout out specifically NBA Spurs Reddit, the user Seamus Talk Sports, who went on Basketball Reference and found this stat that has only been done 16 times in the history of the NBA. And only 2 other players have done this more than once. And Wemby has done this stat line 5 times out of the entire 16 times it's happened. Just to give you a heads up before I go into what the stat is, LeBron James and surprisingly James Harden are the only other 2 people that have done this multiple times, and they've only done it twice. And Victor Wembanyama has done this 5 times already in his very young career. 25 plus points, 10 plus rebounds, 6 plus assists, 5 plus threes, and 3 plus blocks. No other Spur has ever done that. And that is just a Wemby as hell stat line right there. My question for y'all is is this something that we should now call a Wemby?
It may be a bit
the-
too specific to have a name, but yes. I mean, there's a Twitter account out there, I think it's called Wembigami, based on Scoregami, where it's like, did Wemby put together a stat line that has never happened before in NBA history? And a lot of times the answer is yes, just because he's ridiculous. So,
Yeah. What were you going to say, Zach?
I just was saying, it might be a little too specific because, what do we consider a Wemby? And is it the 5 plus threes? Is it the 10 plus rebounds? Is it the 5 block? Is it
well, I think that's kind of to the stat that speaks to it, is that it's an all-encompassing stat that when Wemby came into the league, everybody was like, this guy might be able to literally do everything and anything on the court. And so, look, it's not 20 plus points, it's 25 plus points, typically a majority of what's being scored. And then 10 plus rebounds, that's typically a majority from one player of rebounds. 6 plus assists, that is usually a solid outing from someone who is your main point guard. 5 plus threes, okay, now we're getting into your sniper territory. Shout out to Dallas. And then 3 plus blocks again. That's once again, you're the anchor of the defense. So I know that this, when you see so many different stat lines about it, but look at it and you're this is quite encompassing.
It's giving the Thagic Johnson graphic a little bit, but I think that overall, as having an all-around game, it's impressive. A little surprising to see James Harden on the list.
Yeah,
right. I was surprised too.
But I mean, you guys all watched him be the single best defender to ever guard LaMarcus Aldridge in the post. You saw it, right? So it doesn't
big old
shock
fat
me
body
to see him on this list. It does.
I think
me
the
a
way
little
we
bit to see him in Cleveland, but that's a whole other thing for a whole other podcast.
5 threes and 3 blocks. 5 threes and 3 blocks. I think if you do that, then you're gonna be close to that 25 point mark, because you already got 15 points based off that. So I feel like we could do 5 threes and 3 blocks, because it's okay, you're making impact on both ends of the court.
I don't think he's had a 5x5 game this year, but I think he's gonna. We've talked about it before. I think he's gonna get a quadruple double at some point. So
I don't see why he wouldn't, especially with minutes ramping up too. So, or I say in the playoffs, minutes ramping up, I should say. So let's get to questions of the week. Obviously, we said that this week was so weird because of the trade deadline. The Spurs stood pat, didn't do anything. they sat some guys. Maybe they were shopping them around. There's been reports that they were looking at, you know, Dadier and Yabusele out of New York, and there was some talk about Nick Richards out of Phoenix. Who's the other one they were looking at? They were looking at someone else. Didn't actually hear much Sadiq Bey other than like our kind of own.
I saw a couple other people talk about Sadiq Bey. It might have just been like as a fit. I don't remember seeing any reporting that they like, made calls about Sadiq Bey. Jeff McDonald of the Express News, I take what he reports as gospel. I've got no reason to doubt it. And he reported in the sort of day leading up to the deadline that the Spurs had inquired about Trey Murphy III from New Orleans and Michael Porter Jr. from the Brooklyn Nets, but as expected, found the asking price very, very high, and weren't interested in that.
The New Orleans Pelicans, the worst team in the league to think they're playoff ready. So sure, whatever that means.
How are they going to do it without Jose Alvarado, though, who will be a native New York son?
Yeah,
Ben Stiller is stoked.
I'm sure he is, but how would you guys grade the Spurs trade deadline? Zach, what do you got?
I think for me, if the team was, fighting for a play-in spot, then you're hoping the moves to be made. You're sitting around like, ooh, how can they get better? I think this team's already pretty solid. We've already talked about it's a good basketball team, second in the West. I give it a good grade because they didn't feel the need to blow it up. They trust the team. Wemby said they trust what they're building last night after the Dallas game. So, look, head down, keep winning games. That's all it is.
What do you got, Tom?
I'm going to give him a B for boring. Which, ordinarily a boring trade deadline for the Spurs is kind of to be expected. This year, I was a little surprised and I was a little disappointed just based on the knowledge that they had, movable expiring deals and a ton of second round picks, and they could have probably picked up a short-term depth piece either at center or, a big wing who might help this team in the playoff run and maybe beyond that. I understand why they didn't, right? Like, as much as I thought that they were going to make one of those smaller moves on the margin, which they wouldn't have had to touch their rotation or anything valuable, like they could have made an improvement without blowing it up. But it's clear that they didn't want to attach any draft capital. I'm glad that nobody's leaving. I like all of these guys, the human element of it, which, when we talked to Brandon James yesterday, he thinks that's the thing that the media doesn't really talk about as much, is that for all of these dudes who this is their lives and their livelihoods, it's a really crazy and hectic time. I think my main disappointment comes from, Sochan, who it's become clear that he's out of the rotation and the Spurs don't have a long-term plan for him.
Well, we're gonna get to that for next.
But that's I think the main thing that, if they could have routed him to a new destination where he's got a home, I think that would have been good. But we'll talk about what's next for him later.
I didn't really mind that they stood pat from a content standpoint. It sucks, to your point, Tom, too, that it's boring. But everything's ahead of schedule. Zach just brought it up, 7-3 in January. We're going to, people who watch this team closely know where the problems are. They didn't do anything to really address those problems other than basically say, let's get healthy and play harder, which is kind of fine to do when you're second in the West. And yeah, like to allude, we haven't released this yet, but we will next week, our conversation with Brandon James with the Spurs. He really brought up about wanting to maintain flexibility. And I think when they're essentially right now, when Jeremy Sochan has quote unquote negative value because you have to attach a draft asset to them, the Spurs are like, no, we're not going to do that because that goes into our flexibility. With that being said, and also I think what Zach said last night with talking about how Wemby talked about it, saying We trust our front office. We trust the team we have here. I'd like to think that that was also a vote of confidence from Wemby to Jeremy, saying, "Hey, I know this sucked. I know this was incredibly uncomfortable for you to be in this situation, but I still believe in you and I still want you here." And I think that's pretty invaluable. The other thing I'll say, look, we'll just wait till the off season. This just means like hopefully something more fun happens. And we'll get to really see what that flexibility is. I know Giannis was like, I'm not going anywhere. Legends attract stuff. Like, Giannis, you have not attracted things other than an old Damian Lillard who left. Like, no.
What about Miles Turner, who isn't panning out? Hello?
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Yes. Anyway, let's jump on to the next one. Tom, you're already alluding to it. Obviously our biggest name, fan favorite. So stands, you were standing down. So stands, stand up. I mean, he's still on the
Stand back
team.
up again.
Stand back
Screw
up
it.
again.
Yeah.
My San Antonio Spurs Fiesta Jeremy Sylvan jersey is still good. And so with that being said, what is next for Jeremy in the next year? According to Jared Weiss, reporting that he's not expected to negotiate a buyout and plans to finish the season with the Spurs. Before y'all answer this, I'm just going to jump in here. This is a good thing for Jeremy's overall earnings potential to not get bought out. All right. There's a lot of people I've seen over the last few days are like, the Spurs should do right by him and buy him out. And I understand how that sounds like, let's just break this off. Let's not get in a Jonathan Kuminga situation. Jeremy is not Jonathan Kuminga, first and foremost. Secondly, if he were to get bought out and go out onto this current buyout market and not get selected, not get picked up by another team, it devalues his overall market value for him, for his overall career earnings. In this case, at least being with the Spurs and during some of that time where he was showcased earlier in January as like a solid defender and put up some numbers, I think there's a place for him to still get some run with this team. Last night, Luke Cornett banged up. It would have been nice to have a Jeremy Sochan playing that small ball five that they were running out there. It's just kind of someone who knows how to do that now. And as we go through this slog of the rest of the season, this thing is going into the spring. Not just April. This team is trying to play into May, maybe into June. All that being said, you're going to need depth. You're going to need legs. I still think there's a place where he's probably not obviously going to enter the main rotation, but there's still going to be back-to-backs. There's still going to be things where Jeremy Sochan can contribute out of the next 21, or what do we got? We got 31 more games, right? We just had game 51, so yeah, 31 more of these things. So I'm okay with it. What do you guys got? Zach, maybe you go first.
Yeah, because mine's pretty easy. Just his job is pretty simple from here on out. Head down, focus on what you control, get better every day you can in practice, get yourself back on the court. And if you can't get yourself back on the court, find your way to make yourself useful. Find your way to make yourself a good. We saw Patty Mills on the bench when he wouldn't get on the court, when he was just. It's a different scenario, but it's all about showing yourself right now in the best way you can. And I think there's a lot of ways to do that as a teammate. So head down and control what you can control.
We talked about this, Zach and me, when we did the the live show at the deadline. Wednesday night against the Thunder, he looked out of it, right? He didn't look like his normal happy, loose, good energy self, right? And I think that was largely due to him sitting on that bench, in what's been his home for the last 4 years, thinking about, is this the last time I'm going to sit here with these guys? And that's a really heavy thing, right? For a guy who loves this team, loves this place, loves the fans. AB, I think you hit the nail on the head with a couple of things. This, at this point, is the best thing for both him and for the team. I think that they would only buy him out if he came to them and was like, look, the Suns really want me, or whatever team. If whatever team was like, man, we could really use him on the wing, and it's not like, a Western Conference rival, and he's like, if the Knicks want to pick whatever it is, then they might do it as a favor to him. The Spurs have always sort of worked to do right by guys when it's a situation like this. But if he's staying here, then there are a couple of ways that the Spurs can deploy him to help them on the court and potentially help him raise his value in free agency. They may be able to work a sign-in trade, if he shows some value down the stretch here. You're absolutely right that they could use him as a small ball center. We saw, last night, they sort of pieced it together with Harrison Barnes and Carter Bryant, Keldon Johnson playing a little backup center. But, we saw him do that last year and play all right in a pinch, useful there. I also think that Mitch Johnson, and we saw this a little bit in January, if the team is giving lackluster effort on defense, somebody's getting loose, they need a little physicality, they need some boards. He's a good candidate for out of a quick, frustrated timeout. Mitch throws him out there and, says, give me all of the energy that you've got and, try to prove yourself in these moments, right? And that could be
yeah,
really
the starters
thing.
build consequences for themselves with this sort of thing. It definitely can. We saw it earlier this month in that Minnesota game when they really tried to turn it around. So I had a last question here for you guys, though. And as I've been thinking about how this season has gone on, I think we have some differing opinions here, which makes for a good conversation. But who on the Spurs has a defined role after game 51 of the season? I have some thoughts, but Tom, I'll let you kick us off here.
So I sort of tweeted it out what the rotation looks like after the deadline, right? And I think that the 10-man rotation is pretty well defined. I think we've seen Carter Bryant sort of supplant Jeremy Sochan and what he was and has been to this team. They see a longer development timeline for him, a longer runway. And so we saw him hit 3 threes in that Thunder game, and he can sort of grow into that role as the 10th guy in the rotation, right? But the Spurs have Victor Wembanyama, who's a Wemby. They have 8 other guys or 7 other guys who are averaging double-figure scoring, and they have the other guy in their rotation that's not them or Carter Bryant is Luke Cornett. The positional responsibilities are consistent, even if, lineups are a little mix and match right now. The biggest role definition question for the San Antonio Spurs as they look at the, stretch run into the playoffs is this stuff with Steph Castle and De'Aaron Fox. There's still a lot of time for the Spurs to figure out this, trio of guards. Add Dylan Harper in there. But this season we've seen Steph Castle, who's in his second year in the NBA, driving more times per game than De'Aaron Fox, right? And
yeah, see, I think so. This is where I think you answered the question differently than me, which is totally fine. And that's where I think the rotation is defined. I don't think the roles within the rotation are defined.
Right.
I think there are of the main rotation guys. I have 3: Keldon Johnson, Luke Cornett, and Dylan Harper. Dylan Harper, hey, you're going to come off the bench. You're going to be the primary initial offensive person for that. Keldon Johnson finally settled into being a 6th-man positional player, and it took him 2 years. And this is why I asked that question. It took Keldon Johnson, now leading candidate for 6th Man of the Year, 2 years to settle into this. After being a primary offensive creator, then being a secondary, then this. Luke Cornett signed to be the backup. He is fulfilling the role of what that contract was. Wendy Waters and Kelly Olynyk, those two are also within their defined roles, working within their defined roles. Was like, you guys are going to be into the bench guys, come in, all that. Castle being the primary offensive initiator compared to De'Aaron Fox, I don't think is a defined role. I think it's been a season-long experiment with that. And one of the things when we saw Castle sit in that Magic game, when we really saw the offense like start humming with pace, was with De'Aaron Fox leading the way. Same with it. I don't think Wemby is still even defined fully within his role, because we've seen times with him. I got to credit Jared Weiss on this, of like overthinking because he can do so much stuff. Harrison Barnes is now rotating in and out of the starting lineup. That's no longer a defined role for Harrison. Julian Champagnie ascending into a starting role with this team. And Devin Vassell has also taken, not just being the second option last year, he's not even the third, he's the fourth. If he's going, he moves up to maybe the second or third. But Devin Vassell is also, once again, not in like this fully defined role for himself. And so I kind of, and Zach, you already alluded to it with like the record and how they've been doing to this. And I keep thinking about something Mitch Johnson first said about media day and about fandom, and said that like fans are allowed to be impatient. And I kind of am now more embracing that like fans want perfection out of this. And that's great. But like, once again, the roles within this team, and being the second best team in the West, third best team in the league, 7-3 in the last 10 games, and dealing with a whole slew of injuries throughout this entire season, minutes restricting them, like this is pretty cool comparatively. And I honestly imagine as we get past the All-Star game that there is going to be some more wonkier lineups that Mitch Johnson is going to mess around with as he's starting to really define roles for players getting into that playoff push. So, Zach, what do you got on this? How do you feel about roles being defined on the team?
Well, I kind of answered it a little differently. I was looking for like lineups that worked out best for each other, or how players played off each other in a way where, players were working kind of like how the team worked with space. What lineups work the best with each other? And I kind of discovered here, which is kind of interesting. You mentioned Devin Vassell, and that's what I wanted. It's like he's not even in the best shooting lineup for the Spurs. And Steph Castle actually is in the best shooting lineup for the Spurs. And you're kind of like, wait a second, how does it add up? But the best lineup that we have for spacing right now is the lineup with De'Aaron Fox, Steph Castle, Julian Champagnie, Harrison Barnes, and Victor Wembanyama. They're averaging 48% from three on the 7.5 minutes a game. 7.7 minutes a game they play together, and they shoot 48% from three, 52% from the floor, plus 1.8 on the court together. It's a very interesting stat to see that.
How many games have they played together in that lineup?
15.
Oh, okay, so it's a good sample size too.
Yes, it's the second most out of the lineups that are used. The most is 8.7 minutes. So it is, and that one is plus 2 point. I'm right here. The second best lineup is Devin Vassell is in that lineup with Harrison Barnes, Julian Champagnie, Victor Wembanyama, and Steph Castle. De'Aaron Fox isn't in that lineup. So it's very interesting to see how, and that's a plus 2.8. But the best shooting lineup, which I think is going to benefit this Spurs team when it matters most, is when playoff basketball comes, it's a make or miss league. You're going to have to hit your shots. That was kind of what I was looking at with the defined roles. I think that lineup, those five guys on the court, have defined their roles together when they play with each other. That's what I was looking for.
I like that. So are you saying that there's a couple different directions they can go in?
Yeah, erections, directions, misdirections, corrections, however you want to look at it.
Tom, you muted.
If I may just add one last thing here, I drive with all of this, what you guys are saying. I think that, starting or not starting, you've got four guys in Barnes, Vassell, Keldon, and Champagnie, where their job is the same pretty much regardless of who else is out there. Space the floor, attack and catch, play tough defense, switch. You've got Wemby, you've got Luke Cornett. I think their roles are very well defined. Dylan Harper, I agree. You're a spark plug off the bench. Touch the paint, spray it out, right? And because Stephon Castle is not the best floor spacer, right? I think that the Spurs have definitely been experimenting with him as the primary, but I think that using him as the primary also, does a good job of sort of limiting the exposure of his lack of floor spacing because, now he's going downhill, right? Um, I also think that as we get to this stretch run, we may see the Spurs experimenting more with stuff that they're likelier to use in the playoffs, when it's like break glass in case of emergency, you're always going to have that Wemby Vic pick and roll, right? And I think that after this All-Star break, we're going to see some tweaks. We're going to see some dialing in and locking in from a game plan perspective. So that's something I'm keeping an eye on.
Speaking of dialing and locking it in, 3 more games until the All-Star break, and I think everybody across the league is ready for an All-Star break. And look, first game, running it back against the intrastate rivals, I should say. The Dallas Mavericks coming this time to San Antonio. Everybody's got a little bit of a break in between. What do you guys got on this one?
So, first of all, Najee Marshall, hello. Like, that was crazy last game. But yeah, Cooper Flagg is a stud, man. He played offense against Victor Wembanyama better than pretty much anybody I've seen this season last night. 4 straight game with 30-plus points. He's been going nuts. This is an extremely entertaining matchup for years to come. And, after that game last night and the Rockets game where, they've had a lot of their flaws roster construction-wise exposed in this last month in a way that, like, the Thunder and Spurs and Knicks are kind of just like, dog days, but the Rockets have like crucial team building problems. I think Cooper Flagg might be the most exciting basketball player in Texas outside of San Antonio. How do you guys feel about that take?
Yeah, he's a good player. That guy can hoop.
No, because
No.
his shot looks weird, but he's a very good player.
I
I don't understand his shot is like so.
Works.
He got
So good.
blocked one time by Wemby and said, "You know what? Fuck it. We're doing floaters the rest of the game. We're not doing that again."
Must have looked at that Utah Jazz tape when they were doing all those floaters over Wemby. So I get it. What do you got on this, Zach?
Win tomorrow. Win your first Texas series of the year. So that's what it means. We gotta lock it in tomorrow. Win the season series. 3-0 would be against the Mavs. So let's get our first cup of the year against the interstate rivals.
Texas State Championship rides on this game.
Yes.
Also, just, word to even if the NBA doesn't fully sanction it. The Mavericks and the Rockets and the Spurs all got together to like graciously help with the Kerrville floods earlier this summer. Get together and create a championship belt for the state of Texas. It would be
That'd
so
be sick.
cool. I have an idea for y'all right here. Gold-plated state of Texas belt. Can you imagine like Wemby wearing a wrestling belt, or like you get to like bring it in to the arena, like
That'd be tough.
and it rotates like around the state? That would be
not a
tight.
wrestling belt though. It's gotta be Texas. It's gotta be a big old belt buckle.
Oh,
The whole
man,
team gets a belt
I
buckle.
like that.
Whole team.
I
Whole
like
team
that.
gets
And
a
you have
belt
to,
buckle.
and when you play your Texas teams, you have to wear the big belt buckle. I like that.
It's like the Leatherman jacket back in the day. Letterman
Boy,
jacket,
Maxime, the French reporter.
He looked good.
He was getting a real Texasy. He was ready. He was rodeo ready. Shout out Max.
Yo, shout out Maxime and Hugo, 2 of our boys covering the team.
Yes.
I love those guys.
Funny dudes, man.
Man, what I got on this game, though, back to the Mavs, is Cooper Flagg had a hell of a game, but also De'Aaron Fox was guarding him a good portion of the game, which was kind of interesting in the sense that, like, if there was any way to, like, say, hey, Cooper, we want you to get yours and we'll test out everybody else, we're going to put our smallest defender on you. I am interested if they're going to start Castle or Champagny on him instead this game as like more of a disruptor. And look, to go back to Jeremy Sochan, I don't know if he's going to play in this game or not. there could be a really nice, good faith effort in bringing him off the bench. But like, if you just want a big body to like put up against Cooper Flag, that's one to really go out there and maybe help maybe earn some mutual trust back between the two parties. That being said, I would expect the Spurs to win this game. I feel like Frostbank Center always gets up for, interstate rivals between Mavs and Rockets. So yeah, it's also going to be a little matinee game at 5:00. So look out for that. And then they're going to have a few days break and then go out to the West Coast before the All-Star weekend. Spurs at Lakers. Oh, I can see Zach's blood boiling right now. He's just ready to just fight their head off like a dog. Got to play Luka Doncic in his gimpy ass leg. Heard
Is he
it
gonna
last
play?
night. We're not sure. He's listed as day to day, so this is not for sure. But this Lakers team at the moment, 7-3 in their last 10, top 10 in offensive rating, but 23rd in defensive rating. Nothing's really changed according to NBA stats. And this is going to be the second night for the Lakers on a back-to-back where they will play against the Oklahoma City Thunder the night before. It'll be interesting if this is like a game that LeBron plays or not. He's been saying that he's not really doing back-to-backs. Austin Reeves is back with this team because I got to tell you, like, this is kind of one of those teams, like, regardless of the outcome of this game, and we certainly could lose it. We've seen this team get hot from three. They are more than capable of that, but I'm not afraid of them. Like, if there was ever a time to be like, I think there is genuinely a soft team that's a little probably overrated, I would say I would put the Lakers in there. And this is kind of like if we were to play them in the playoffs. I know Luka's gonna foul bait, but like we have so many bodies to like throw at them and be physical. The other thing I expect, especially with the Spurs having the rest advantage, put that high octane offense again into gear. Get down across the half court line at 22 seconds on the shot clock. Push the pace on these guys and just activate those jelly legs sooner rather than later. What do you guys got?
For top.
So I think that this is one of those games, and we saw in the previous game against the Lakers where we've talked a lot about the Spurs depth, 1 through 10. You want to lean on that against a kind of top-heavy Lakers team. Last game it was like Luka Doncic, get yours. We'll make sure everybody else has a difficult time. Latest news on Luka is that he's doubtful for their game against the Warriors, so we'll see. I think that this rivalry is still fun, even with the Lakers being like sort of still figuring themselves out and, guys in and out of the lineup. They're a good team. Austin Reeves has been open. So I think that it's going to be a really fun game, but a game that the Spurs, I think, should win. Zach, what about you?
Spurs have scored 130 on the Lakers 2 times this season, 132 and 130. They don't play good defense against Spurs. We saw what they did in LA. Just run them, and run them some more. Steph Castle, De'Aaron Fox, just get going downhill. They don't have too much paint presence. Just got to work. Get downhill, swing the ball around. Wimby. It's in LA. You're going to start your West Coast barrage of great basketball. Do it in LA. Go to San Francisco. Do it in San Francisco. Go back to LA. Go do some cool stuff in the All-Star game. So it's the start of a fun week for him.
Absolutely. And like you just alluded to, then they're going to go back to back against the Warriors next night in San Francisco. No longer the Roracle. R.I.P. the Roracle. Oakland, great town. But look, this team now, I don't really understand what the Warriors are doing. They traded for Kristaps. They got rid of Jonathan Kuminga, which I guess good for them. But like, is Kristaps going to play? Jimmy Butler is no longer playing the rest of the year. They're 5-5 in their last 10, but they've lost 5 of their last 8 since Jimmy went down. And I don't think we really know what stats are showing fully yet on how much Jimmy is met, but like, I don't know, man. If there is truly I'm going to use a Zach Montana-ism here, get your lick back. Do it against the Warriors, who beat you twice in a week earlier this season because Steph Curry just decided to go flamethrower mode. And Wemby, I would just love it if you yelled so down on Draymond Green that you accidentally ate him. I would be okay with that. What do you guys got on this one?
I mean, Tingus Pingus, a Warrior. Honestly, man, this is a guy who is probably the most talented and, jump shot capable big man that Steph Curry has ever played with. People talk about the Warriors like they're already good, man, and they're not. They still got Steph Curry.
Dude, Steve Kerr said that they are, though.
I
Their
know,
own
Yeah,
coach.
Steve Kerr said that.
but it's like you got all your picks. You can make another run at Giannis in the offseason when you got more. Like they swapped a guy who wasn't playing for a guy who could be an X factor. And like just as a basketball fan and as somebody who's interested in the hero's journey for the Spurs, right? I can't think of a more interesting first round playoff opponent than this
No.
getting toward the last dance Warriors team.
No.
Entertainment value,
No.
bro.
I want nothing
Passing
to
of
do
the
with Steph Curry in
torch.
any sort of high stakes game. No.
But if you're throwing guys in the crucible, man, as
No.
a neutral party, that'll be fantastic hoops.
I'm not mutual on this. No.
Kristaps Porzingis has only played 17 games this season.
I know. Like, listen, I'm just saying. I hope that he can be healthy, just on a human level and on a basketball level. Makes that team more interesting. Makes that team a lot more interesting.
He will be debuted soon, is
Sean
what the
Elliott-
report is.
Sean Elliott always alludes to the last game before the All-Star break as like a weird game because people are already on halfway in, halfway out. Cancun's calling. Here to see what type of basketball we see. But I know the Spurs will come up and show up and perform. I know Steph Curry sat last night. They sat a lot of players for the Golden State Warriors, and they still came back and won. They went on a 20-2 run to come back and win that game against the Phoenix Suns when they sat pods. That didn't even hear that from me, but they sat him. They sat him, and they went and won the game after he sat down. So you make of that what you will. But just go win a game. It's all about stacking wins. I've said it 4 times on the show. This is the part of the season where you're going to look back and be like, oh, whatever, the January, February, whatever. Stack wins. Stack wins.
If you can head into the All-Star break on a 6-game win streak, that'd be pretty tight.
Stack wins.
Well, fellas, as Zach is saying, stack wins. 3 more games until All-Star break. What do you got?
I can't not say they're going to go 3-0. I already said this. They can't lose the rest of the season, and I'm sticking to it.
All right, Tom, what do you got?
I'm with you, Zach. I think head into the All-Star break with 38 wins.
And I will remain consistent at my 2-1, just because 3 of us going 3-0 rarely ever happens.
Howard,
You don't want to jinx
you're
it.
just playing a numbers game.
I am. And also, what's really funny is like when I look at our overall records, and Zach now is just saying that they are never going to lose another game. And it was just really funny. I thought that like Tom, was going to be like the lowest losses for us. But Zach is clearly going to be like that. He basically thinks the Spurs are going to lose 11 games the rest of the season.
No. I never said that. They got to play some difficult games. But they do play like
You
the
said they
Kings
got to
twice.
go undefeated. So
They play the Kings twice. They play the Pacers again. They play Brooklyn. They play Dallas twice. They play. I mean, they have there's some wins over there, fellas. Don't worry.
I see what you're doing. Fellas, it's been great to chop it up as always with y'all. What do y'all got to tell the people before we dip?
I do have one last, non-basketball sports question for you guys. Obviously, Super Bowl Sunday coming up, and you know what that means. 1 week till a day 500, baby. 25 years since we lost Dale, R.I.P. But who you guys got in the Great American Race this year?
I have a
Okay.
car crossing the finish line first.
You guys are no fun, man. We got to get you to
Sponsors-
a NASCAR race, bro.
Sponsors will be seen.
Hell yeah, they will.
You know, I don't know. The Super Bowl, though.
Jeff
it
Gordon.
is-
He's
I
still
don't, I
racing?
don't know.
No, he's not.
Oh, okay. What do you got, Zach?
Bobby Labonte. Is he still racing?
Hey, he's not still racing, but I got Terry on my shirt. Pride of Corpus Christi.
There
Terry
you
never
go.
won
Okay.
the
Right at Corpus
2500.
Christi, Labonte Park, baby. Those who know.
Shout out
What
to
do I
Texas
got?
Terry.
What do I got? Well, I don't know if I'll be on the show next week. So the next time you'll see us, I'll be old as fuck. So I'm just saying, hey, hope everyone has a great All-Star break weekend. This next weekend and All-Star break weekend, and just enjoy Valentine's Day. And if you're in love, embrace it. And if you're not in love, well, join the train because it sucks, but it's all good.
If you're not in love, catch Zach in Speranza on Arc Raiders.
There you go.
Exactly. Yeah, we're in actually birthday season for the Silver and Black Coffee Hour. Zach's birthday is next weekend. Mine is on Sunday. We're getting old. We're getting up there. What I gotta say? Oh, last thing. That Wemby All-Star jersey this year is sick.
Nice.
Might have to cop that when it becomes like $20 in the fan shop next year. Lord knows they still got plenty of those ugly ass red ones.
Oh, yeah.
But really, just hope everybody takes care of themselves. The weather is pretty picture perfect in Texas right now. The Spurs are playing great. We got 3 more games until the All-Star break. And then you know what? There's All-Star shenanigans. Webby the last 2 years during All-Star break has done something silly. Well, Anthony Edwards did before, but that'll be great. And then we got Austin Spurs week, which, keep yourself here to this space. Like and subscribe. Tell friends, tell enemies. We'll be out there in these streets. And go Spurs go, y'all. We'll see y'all later. Peace.